Can you guys see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, hey guys, welcome to BSU. Today is October 5th, 2020, and I'm really excited to have all of you guys here. Today we will have a focus mainly on voting and voting rights today. But first, we're going to start by just giving you a welcome. Thank you for showing up to BSU. I am really excited to have all of you here so we can discuss on what needs to be done for the community. So we are going to start with our disclaimer that you are being recorded and these meetings will be uploaded up to YouTube Live. So if you guys would not like to show your faces or you do not want, to say anything, that is your right to do so. But if you would not like to be in the meeting at all, just you have the will to leave. We would like to start with the icebreaker. An icebreaker is usually when we just break the ice, get people talking at our meetings. So our icebreaker is, would you rather never use social media apps ever again, or would you rather never watch another TV show or movie?
Would you rather?
Oh, I just want to let y'all know to beware of background noise. So we always say it's common courtesy to mute your not your camera, but your mic, unless you are speaking, just so we don't have any feedback or no technical issues or nothing like that.
Me personally, I would like to delete TV. Cause it's just like TV not the same no more. It's a lot of propaganda that goes into it now, and it's a lot of political influence amongst different children. So I feel like the TV.
So you would choose TV, Marcus, rather than
because social media or movies and TV, they kind of fall in the same category because they push like the same agendas, but definitely TV.
What about anyone else? You can hit the chat and then we'll approve you to speak. Hit the chat, say you would like to speak, and then. Oh, come on, Chantel. What do you think?
I think I would remove TV and movies too, just because most of the time you can catch a lot of stuff on social media that happens on TVs and movies. So,
yeah. Right. I get what you're saying. I guess I'll go. I think I would rather never use social media apps again. I think I could kind of do without social media. Just a lot of the toxicity that's going on in the world. People don't know how to talk to each other, but they just scream at each other on social media and talk about each other and all the cyberbullying that's going on. I think I could do without that in my life.
Yeah, I second that. I don't know. I think, I'm good on social media. I don't have a Facebook. So if I went this long without a Facebook, I think I'm good. But then, I tried the no social media thing. And I felt like I was missing out. I had FOMO. So I was like, I need that back because I need to know what's going on. And I don't really watch TV like that anyway.
Okay. Yeah, that's most definitely true. Anybody else? Would you rather never use any social media apps ever again, or would you rather never watch another TV show or movie? What do you guys think?
Y'all kind of quiet today.
Y'all kind of quiet, right? It's usually, but it's fine. We can move on to the next slide. We are now moving on. Oh, Chantel, you can go right ahead.
I was gonna say, like, don't y'all think since COVID just took off and we got social distance and all that now, don't y'all think TV and movies about to start slowing down by like June 2021? Like, it really ain't gonna be that many movies out. But my other philosophy is that it ain't gonna be that many new movies out. Besides Tyler Perry's movies, because he has his own studio. But you know, like I don't see other directors just really taking precautions of keeping their actors and actresses safe, you know, during this time. So
Yeah, I think it's better to, personally, I feel like it's better to not do it at all. And I think that's a lot of people's logic is, you know, Tyler Perry, he has the means to have his own studio, which is great. But personally, I'm not going to be watching that much Tyler Perry stuff. I can't take it. And so, but you know, a lot of people, a lot of like movie distribution companies and production companies, they are taking their things to other platforms. Like if you have Xfinity, you have the option to watch some movies that were going to be released in the theater. They put it on there and you pay like $20 to, I don't know if it's to rent or to own, but you have that option too. But you know,
That's a great point, Brittany, that you pointed out. But now we're moving on to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So we're going to watch a quick video on what the Voting Rights Act is and how it includes us as African American and even other minority persons of different disenfranchised groups.
Oh, we can't hear that.
You guys can't hear it?
No.
Okay, let me go. I can do it from my phone. Thank God for technology.
Jeremiah,
Try to turn up the volume on your computer.
Yeah.
Sounds smart about the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was necessitated by the fact that the vast majority of African Americans in the South could not vote.
Is it off, guys?
The Civil Rights Act of 1964.
hey, you have it muted like on actual YouTube or whatever this thing is. Like unmute that.
Let's see.
You
guys hear it now?
You know how you turn up the volume on your computer, like on your actual computer?
Oh yeah, you gotta share your computer sound.
Oh, I didn't know you had to do that.
It's up to 100.
So when it says share your screen, you can also select share your computer sound so we could hear the video.
Okay.
So click new share.
Yeah, maybe try that.
Share computer sound. Thank you so much, guys.
Y'all so smart. So
yeah,
happy.
you gotta love BSU members. Okay, but here is
okay, from the top.
From the top of the Voting Rights Act. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Uhuru Williams. I'm a professor of history, and here's what you need to know to sound smart about the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was necessitated by the fact that the vast majority of African Americans in the South could not vote. Despite the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, many civil rights activists believe that the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was still necessary due to the denial of the right to vote of Blacks in many Southern communities. Organizations like the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and the Congress of Racial Equality have been active in registering African Americans to vote in the South with little success prior to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. One of the reasons the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was so important is it helped to eliminate some of the mechanisms that had been used to suppress the right to vote for African Americans. This included the literacy test, the grandfather clause, and with the passage of the 24th Amendment, the dreaded poll tax. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 actually authorizes the United States government to oversee elections in Southern states where there's been a history or record of voter suppression. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King considered the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to be an essential piece of legislation to guarantee civil rights for African Americans. Young people in large numbers came out and joined what became known as the Red Guards. These largely terroristic organizations were...
In regards to the video, does anyone have any questions about the Civil Rights Act before we enter into our discussion questions? Because if anybody has any questions on what the Voting Rights Act is and what it also ensures. Okay, I'll go right ahead then. So the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was signed by Congress to ensure that Black citizens, specifically in both northern and southern states that were affected by Black codes and Jim Crow laws, and also poll taxes that prevented African American people the right to vote, is one of the most important pieces of legislation that was passed through the U.S. Congress, and it protects the rights of African Americans to vote. So, in regards to the Voting Rights Act of 1965, do you all believe governmental efforts are the only way for African Americans to receive liberation? I think that's a very good discussion question. Does anybody answer this? Okay, Marcus.
No, because to refer to Indians didn't always go through the government to get what they want. They like fought the government within different lawsuits and different things like that. You know, I feel like we could tackle a lot of different issues by like going deeper than going through the government. We could try to see what things other people have. Like that's what the Indians did. They came up with a concise like plan to help their people. So I think that's what we need to do as Black people, is to find a concise thing that fits all of us and tackle that one thing and try to get that equal right on that.
So Marcus, you're saying that we should advocate for a governmental system. We should advocate for a place in government, but that shouldn't be our only stumping ground to receive equal rights.
Right.
Denise?
Yeah, I don't think like the government really like liberates Black people, because if you look at it, like, you know, no matter who's been in office, it hasn't really like necessarily helped like the Black plight. So I think like we do have to seek liberation like other ways, like Marcus said.
Okay, Asher.
Yeah. So, me personally, I believe that it might be kind of a stretch, but I think like it's possible we can have our own orientated government for the Black community. As hard and difficult and damn near impossible it does sound, I feel like it is a possibility. I just think that we kind of, it's kind of like a double-edged sword trying to like go to the government of this country to get the things that we know that we deserve, not even as Black people, but as human beings. But I just feel like there will be a point where, you know, we can't simply rely on the government anymore because of the broken promises and the humiliation and the manipulation, of our race. So, it might come to a point where we might start to form our own branches and outlets of government, for our own communities.
Okay. Look at what you're saying.
I want to touch on Asher's point with having our own. The Indians are doing that till today. It's called self-governance, and the Indians, they as much as they try to govern themselves, the United States finds a way to make the Indians come back to them and ask them for resources. So the United States will pull and tug on different resources, so that way the Indian tribes won't have those resources to profit off of helping their community and different things like that. So having our own, I feel like the government will find a way to attack us in a way, just like they are in today's society with police brutality, and you have healthcare system, education system, and we could also talk about um the closing of schools. The government is tackling neighborhoods by closing down the schools and different things like that. So having our own will literally have to be where we have black people that are willing to like put towards that community and help that community out. So I feel like we should start there before we talk about having our own, because as we can see, the Indians, they are struggling due to the fact that the government tries to find ways to pick at them.
Thank you, Marcus, for your comments. I see Chantel noted, I agree what's already been said, but Jeremiah, what do you think? Well, you know, I try not to put my opinion in now that I do a lot of the moderating, but I will say what I think is that what African-American people, what I feel that we should do is that aside from government, we have all of these organizations that are supposed to advocate for, you know, Black communities and supposed to take these progressive stances. And we need to ask, and it's imperative to ask, where is our leadership if these are the organizations that's supposed to be leading us? We see like the NAACP, and we see like even with Black Lives Matter. I believe that it goes farther than just the government. And I was able to read Malcolm X's autobiography twice this summer. And it was basic. And one of the main things he says is the only way for Black people to choose to finally become liberated is if they start doing something for themselves. We have to start creating our own organizations in our own wealth to combat discrimination as well. So I would say that would be more so my take, but it really doesn't matter what I think. It really matters what you guys think. But yeah. So we're going to move on to the second question. What more laws should the government enact to protect Black citizens? Would anybody care to speak on this issue? Because
Marcus, Jeremiah, you know I love this question. I feel like one thing we could tackle, the first thing we should tackle as a Black community and as a minority community as a whole, is to revise the whole Constitution. The Constitution is made to keep us oppressed and keep us in a category that we don't really fit in. So I feel like revising the Constitution and changing the whole system around will help us out a lot, because a lot of what's going on in the Constitution, if you read different cases, you find that police officers get away with a lot of things due to the Constitution oppressing the Black community and the minority community. So that off bat, I just want to say that just get rid of that old Constitution made by the slave masters and the founders, and revise and make a new one that is more inclusive to the community of minorities.
Okay. I see where you're coming from. Asher?
Yeah. I partially agree with Marcus, because I do agree that that the culture that surrounds the United States was founded and built off of these the Constitution and all of these laws and ways of living that really didn't cater to any minority group, especially African Americans. And I feel that that is something that we can do, but I'm thinking of like the fail success factor of this, because the failure of this I feel like is too high. Only because I'm thinking of how embedded the Constitution is in America and how much it surrounds the system, how much it surrounds the way that the United States operates, especially how they kind of treat and portray the American dream. You know, I feel that's one big kind of like ideology that America like really like stands on. You know, the whole American dream aspect that everybody can, you know, work for what they want in life and everything. If you know they just come here, and um, and I just feel like it's possible, but at the same time, we have to understand of the the aspect of how this can be a double-edged sword because of how embedded it is in the culture, you know, of America. Because if that were to happen, like it will, I just feel like America is gonna blow its top off, you know, because I'm thinking about how embedded this is in not just minority families, but also in our, you know, our white counterparts as well. How much is embedded in their history, um, especially with things considering like police, any kind of like military branch, any government branch, and things like that. You know, I just feel that that would just, you know, cause a lot of eruption in the country. But it is possible. I think it is a shot to take. You know.
Thank you so much, Asher. Oh, yes,
I
Mark.
want to tackle upon the fact how a lot of minorities, we try to really like praise upon this old analogy that, oh, it's their history. Like, it's their history. It's been their history for 500 plus years. So I don't, I really, I agree with you on that, but I feel like we shouldn't really care because I feel like people should adjust to the new environment and then the new ways people think and the new ways people are living. And I feel like the Constitution just oppressed all history. Like I was reading an article the other day about Indians, and it was saying that how the government will, specifically speaking, how the government just came in and basically whitewashed the whole Indian race. So the Indian race didn't have no way of doing their own thing, and they basically copied everything from the government. Like the way they ran their government was even structured the same way as the European government. So I feel like we shouldn't really care about the European history. We should really care about our history and the history that we want to push forward. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Marcus. On to our next question. How can civic leaders help Black people vote? We see a lot of civic leaders who want Black votes but don't go out to get them. Or how can our leaders inside our communities ensure that we vote? As some of you guys know, among the Black population, that most citizens that are Black do not vote and don't take part in the judicial process. And if more Black citizens took part in the judicial process, we would have more of an opportunity to make a larger impact as we did in the election of 2008. So what do you guys think about that? How can civic leaders help Black people vote? Oh, come on, Asher.
Sure. Well, I mean, I feel like it can really just start with kind of like breaking stereotypes and ideologies within the Black community that's kind of like been embedded in our culture. Because truth be told, I just feel like, you know, our generation nowadays, we're kind of like, we kind of have mixed feelings about voting, you know, and I'm kind of part of that category as well because I kind of have mixed feelings about voting too, but I feel like it's only because of the fact that the aspect of kind of putting our hopes in the government and the fact that our vote counts, which I know it does, but it's just seeing how our vote can count so much, but it doesn't at the same time. Like we can vote, but then at the end of the day, it's like, what are we really voting for? Are we just voting because it's like it's something we just have to do now, you know? Or are we just voting because we really want things to change, not just, you know, for the Black community as well, but for other minority groups as well who don't get the things that they deserve as well, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like it starts with the resources will like get in the youth, especially to understand like the importance of voting, but also to get them to understand what voting kind of like sees into other things as well, not just voting for X, Y, and Z, but how voting can put the community in a better position as well, and I just feel like it's also important to recognize how some leaders kind of have to adapt to just the audience, especially like, because don't quote me on this, but I don't really know that many like black um like Republicans or Democrats or whatever the case may be. But
Whoever has their mic on, can you please mute yourself?
yeah.
But, yeah, continue, Asher.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna wrap it up. But yeah, like I don't really know that many black Republicans or Democrats, and it's kind of hard to kind of like appeal to an audience, especially if you're like someone in the older generation as well, because I know a lot of times, like the older generation and the generation now kind of like butt heads a lot about different things, especially culturalistic things in the black community as well. And it's like, that can kind of like separate the bridge that needs to be held together, because at the end of the day, it's like both generations need to come to a standing point where, we both want the same thing, because at the end of the day, that's really all it is, and I just feel like, these leaders, they need to like really adapt and understand and like sympathize with, the people that they're really trying to get to vote, especially the youth as well, because at the end of the day, you don't want to keep continuing the same cycle that, our older generation has continued. So
Thank you so much, Asher. Brittany?
Yeah, so I agree with some of what Asher was saying. I feel like, if we're going to compare and contrast his versus my answer, I feel like those who are older than us, our elders, understand the importance in vote, that it's because of them growing up and how they did not have that right, and how that right got transcended in into our generation, our age group, what have you. But I think that when it comes to Black people in voting, for me, it's very frustrating. I don't know how often you all have conversations with people that look like us. So either that's people our age or people of our same ethnic background, makeup, whatever you want to call it. But it gets frustrating because there's a lack of ignorance, and it's not always a fault of their own. Sometimes people just don't know. But like I said last meeting, knowledge is currency. And so when you have that opportunity to have that knowledge, that will unlock the door. And I think that in the Black community, there's a sense of like, I would say maybe voting insecurity, where we do think sometimes that our vote does not matter. But I think that comes from us either not voting or no one telling us how important it is to vote. Let's be honest, we get mad at the president all we want to, but the president is not really the one who makes the very important decisions sometimes. Sometimes it's our local level. So yes, it is important to vote in the presidential election, but do you vote in the other elections that have a lot to do with your community, with your neighborhood? When I go to vote for back home, when I vote for like my alderman, I vote for the judges in our state, whatever it is. I don't really see a lot of people my age. I don't. And that's crazy because the neighborhood I vote in, my home, like my neighborhood where I grew up, it's by a lot of high schools. And I'm like, well, why I don't see nobody my age voting? We need to learn how to first take accountability. That's the first thing in voting. So, are you registered to vote? Are you encouraging other people to register to vote? Do you even know how to do it? And it's okay if you don't, but it's not okay when you don't do those things and then you complain. That's not okay. So that's why we have to vote. That's why we have to encourage other people to vote. And sometimes, you know, things like that, they start at home. So sometimes, you know, if your mama not voting, go tell your mom to vote. You know, she might not like the options, but it does matter at the end of the day. And we have to get out of that mindset that it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. It does matter. It will matter. Sometimes things matter more in the long run than what they matter in the current. But it's, you know, that's kind of the way things work. So in closing, just vote. That's it.
Thank you, Brittany. I love your perspective that in local government, we see a lot of African Americans who don't exercise their right to vote in their local government, but have a lot of problems with the conditions of the communities in which they live. I think there needs to be more of a push for us to, you know, activate inside of our local communities, because they have, you know, they take charge on what's really happening in your area, in your city, your neighborhood. You don't like the violence, it's the local police. You know, it's not the army. And we do need to focus more on local municipalities. So I'm glad that you brought that up. But moving to the last question, is voting useless? Because no matter the way Blacks vote, it seems to be disadvantaged. What I'm referring to is, it seems that no matter whether Democrats or Republicans get into office, it seems like they all, either both party drops the ball when it comes down to African Americans. So, you know, I got a question from a student and they say, you know, voting is useless. So what do you guys say to that? I know, Marcus, you raised your hand.
Yeah, what I will say about that is that I think we should have more of a say-so. Like, if they gave us the right to vote, like, we should, and as us being a democracy, I feel like we should have more of a say-so on who can really get in office. Like, the two candidates now, I already know, like, I feel like they not in our best interest. I feel like Biden is going to pass crime bills that's going to eventually oppress the minority community like he did before. But I just feel like we should have more of a say so as Black people and as minorities. Like, it doesn't make sense if we put in a vote and we end up getting the worst turnout. Like, every time we put in a vote, it's somebody that's in office that we really don't want to be in there. So
Thank you so much, Marcus. We will now be moving to our next slide. We will be moving towards the presidential debate. I felt like this was very important for us to talk about. We felt like all of us need to weigh in on what happened that night. So I'm about to play a short clip from the top moments.
How you doing, man? I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
Mr. President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
you pick
You'd be surprised.
the wrong guy, the wrong night at the wrong time.
Listen, did you use the word smart? You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Vote now.
You're going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
you want to
is
put a lot of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
your,
man?
Listen, who is on your list?
You folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people.
This is the same man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
That was said sarcastically,
That was
you know that. That was
40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. he panicked. And
Mr.
even the people who
President, please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
under
ask you
oath,
this,
under-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
even
you.
people under-
Wait a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this.
Hey,
this
let me just
person.
say,
But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do that,
specifically
but
do it?
Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists
Who
and
would
right
you like me to condemn?
white supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a left-wing problem.
My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm
Hunter?
talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter
you know
got
Bo.
thrown. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He
for
wasn't dishonorably.
cocaine use. And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made
son,
a fortune.
my son,
and he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he
proud of
given
my
tens
son.
of millions?
Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. What he had to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good-paying jobs.
But let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100 billion.
Trump, you
I'm
go first.
urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. But I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair
You're urging
election,
them what?
I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on
Unmute your mic.
My bad. Guys, I actually watched that live. I was just reacting to it again. I know some of you may or may have not even seen the presidential debate or the highlights, but we would like to talk about it. Who won this debate, or did America lose? I think that's a great question to assess. Especially we've seen a lot of ad hominem, a lot of red herring attacks instead of actual policy. So what do you guys think about the debate? Who won this debate, or did America overall lose? Marcus, would you like
I would say America lost. The reason I say that is because I don't know if you guys remember the presidential debate when Barack Obama was going against George Bush. It was very boring. It was not really entertaining to people that's not going into that.
Marcus, do you mean Mitt Romney, or are you referring to John McCain?
Yeah, John McCain.
Because you said Bush.
Oh, my bad. But yeah, so I don't know if you guys watched that, but it wasn't entertaining as this one. This one was not surrounded around so much of policies like Jeremiah has stated. It was surrounded about a lot of low blows against people's families, and if this person is politically correct and different things like that. It was just childish. So that's all I have to say.
Victoria, would you like to speak on this issue? I know you said America lost. Would you like to elaborate?
Marcus basically said everything that I wanted to say, but I really felt like I was watching two little kids just going back and forth, going tit for tat about somebody's past. nothing about really the debate at all. It was just really annoying. And I actually watched the debate myself. I said I wasn't going to watch it because, for one, Trump wasn't going to make sense. And Biden Biden did run, but he became vice president. So I kind of wanted to listen to what he had to say. But after listening, it was just like they were just going tit for tat. And once Trump hit a nerve with talking about Biden's son, that's when he decided to bite back. It was just tit for tat for me. So at this point, it's either we don't need Trump, honestly, don't need him, but we take Biden, what is there he has to offer. I'm still kind of leery.
Yes, Victoria, I definitely understand where you're coming from with the attack. Sarah, oh yes, we would love if you chimed in, Sarah. What would you like to say on this issue? Because I know you have tons of knowledge on it.
And I'm open about having a particular political opinion, which you'll pick up on pretty quickly here. But I'm leery of falling into the false equivalency of saying both sides are the same, both sides are terrible, because there are very clear differences in terms of proposed policies, in terms of histories on both sides. And I think conduct-wise, there are differences in this debate. I do think both of them could have behaved better, but I also think that there was a very clear amount of, when tracked, like who was making more interruptions, who was attacking each other's family, like those sorts of things. It wasn't a both sides thing where, okay, well, they made an equal amount of interruptions or things like that. And also I think sometimes when we say like both sides are terrible, both sides are bad, that it promotes the idea that we're powerless and we can't do anything. And it makes it easier for us not to get involved and to feel like our voices don't matter. So
you go downstairs and you left the TV playing.
That's all. Also though, if people do need voting information or voter registration information, I know the Office of Civic Engagement has that, but it's also stuff that I can look up and help people with if they just need another person to help them. So
thank you so much, Sarah, for your thoughts and your perspective. I don't know if you guys saw the part where where the question was asked about white supremacy. So we're going to move on to the second question. What are your thoughts on Trump's answer about white supremacy? We saw that President Trump never really addressed the issue of white supremacy. He then shifted the conversation towards talking about Antifa and the radical left. So what do you guys feel as citizens of Trump's denial to, not really denial, but he never answered the question of white supremacy? So Marcus?
I would say that a lot of people are trampling upon Trump. I don't condemn. I don't agree with nothing he says. I'm just like, people, they are tackling upon Trump, but they're not tackling upon what Biden said in the past when he said, if you're not black, you not voting for me. Like, basically, if you're black, you'll vote for me. So basically, I don't get like why people not trampling upon that situation either, because I feel like both statements, and him not condemning white supremacy and then Biden saying his thing, his little slogan or whatever you want to call it out of his mouth, I think is both bad. So I feel like we should be both tackling upon both of them.
Thank you so much, Marcus. We're going to move straight on to the third question, but Asher, I still want you to go. Does either candidate have the Black community's interest? We were able to see that Trump brought up amazing points, and I've read even some of the things that Biden has voted for. His voting record is not necessarily the best when it comes to civil rights, but also Trump's cuts to the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Civil Rights Division is also not a good case for African-American people. and other things that Trump has done. But does either candidate have the Black community's interest, Asher?
You know, I'm not really sure. I would say from my experience, I would lean more towards Biden, only because of his involvement with President Obama at the time. But you know, after hearing what was said about in the debate and what was brought to surface, I'm not really so sure anymore. I do hope and pray that Biden has the somewhat of a best interest for minority groups, including us as well. But as far as right now, I'm not so sure. Even though I want to lean more towards Biden, but at the end of the day, I'm really not sure. Because I mean, truth be told, you would think since Biden was under, Obama's wing, you would think that he would be more sensitive and more open-minded about these situations that all minority groups are in, especially African Americans. But I would just say that, Biden has to put his money where his mouth is. And I just feel like he has to do a better job than what he did in the debate, But yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Asher, for your perspective. With that, we're going to move on to the fourth question. I'll actually answer this question. What can we do if we don't approve of either candidate? There are two main candidates that run for president. One put up from the Republican National Convention and the other put it up by the Democratic National Convention. But there are third-party options for both Democrat, Republican, whether you are a libertarian or whatever political ideology you align with. There are other candidates that you can vote for, but more than likely, most of the votes will be garnered towards the members of either party, of Republicans or of Democrats. So you can vote for someone else, but your vote may not have as much of an effect on who would become the president of the United States, unfortunately. I mean, unless a lot of people started garnering support for another candidate in which it would split the vote significantly. But we don't really see that happen in politics today. On to the fifth question. Is Biden's failure to pass race-conscious policy enough for us to vote for Trump? I've seen a lot of disgust, especially from Black communities. Well, I know there are I know there's an organization called Blexit, Black people leaving the Democratic Party. So, but the question is Biden's failure to pass race-conscious policy enough to garner enough support for the Black community to vote for him? Does anybody want to speak on this issue? If you know about Joe Biden's bill, record when it comes down to policy? Oh, come on, Denise.
Okay, so yeah, I feel very much like a way towards Joe Biden. The stuff that I've seen, like in his past, like, the crime bills, and then he was actually an anti-integrationist or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's enough to support Trump, but it is enough to see that kind of both parties don't have our interest at heart. I don't know like where that leaves us. I don't think it's enough to say, okay, I'm for Trump. But to me, like Joe Biden and Donald Trump, like I feel like they're almost the same, but just Joe Biden seemingly like identifies with, leftists, and then Trump is like with the right. So again, like kind of going back to the first question, like I don't think that we're going to find the answers in either of these candidates. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Denise, for your perspective. I don't know if Biden's past, past is enough for me to vote for Trump. I don't want to vote for Joe Biden, but I have to due to the nominees. But I definitely understand your perspective on this issue, especially with upholding that states have rights to discriminate. So the biggest question on this list is, what do you project will happen in November? Marcus, has anyone been following the polls?
Oh yeah, somewhat. I think Biden's win. Donald Trump not looking too good, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I think Biden is going to be president because a lot of people not messing with, like, they not really agreeing with Donald Trump, different things like that. So I feel like Biden is going to win. But to point Denise, I truly agree with her, because I feel like both, like, when Biden becomes president, I feel like he's going to screw us, and we are going to regret it because we voted for him. But I just want to point out, like, his views and the way he points and his policies, the way he points towards the community. I feel like he's pointing, his ideology of a Democrat is pointing towards old Democrats. And what I mean by old Democrats, that's meaning Republican now, Democrat in the past. And a lot of people I feel like he's going to push a lot of Republican policies through that's beneficial to him. I feel like he's not going to look out for the minority community at all, even though I think the true reason why Biden really got in office is because Obama was by his side. So everyone seen it since a white man, to be frank, white man that is by a black man. I think that played a big part, because a white man being by a black man, that shows a lot. He's inclusive. He's gonna push a lot of agenda towards us, which, if we look at the past, white men have, like, for example, Abraham Lincoln was with Frederick Douglass. A lot of views, a lot of things, Abraham Lincoln didn't agree with him, but he made it beneficial to him. That's the reason why he abolished slavery, because it was beneficial to the time and the time period. So I'm just sick of, like, people, like, just putting those two together. Just because a white man is by a black man doesn't really mean he's going to support us at all.
Thank you, Marcus, for your perspective. Does anybody else, what do you guys project will happen in November? I'm not really sure. It looks like a landslide election to me, but what do you guys think will happen? Do you guys think Trump will win? Do you guys think Biden will win? How do you feel? Okay, Sarah.
In terms of a popular vote, my prediction would be, as of right now, that Biden will take it. I do think that we're not going to know what the result of the election is on election night. And I have real concerns that it's going to get turned over to the Supreme Court. There seems to be a lot of concern from the Trump administration about voter fraud, and I'm concerned that that'll get used to try to overturn the popular vote and the electoral college vote if that doesn't seem to reflect him winning.
Thank you so much, Sarah. We're going to move on to the next slide. Oh, wait. So before we get to our Ask Miss Shirley portion, we have internet sites here that are designed to either help you vote, help you register to vote, or help you understand where you stand as a voter. You can apply for a mail-in ballot at Chicago, Cook County. That's if you are from Cook County. And
Jeremiah, I'm sorry.
or would you like to explain this, Brittany?
Yeah. Okay. So I just
You're more
wanted
suited for this
So
one.
someone earlier, I believe it was Sarah, mentioned the Office of Civic Engagement. We have Beth Gillespie, who is over that whole office. I'm going to use this time to let her speak. And Beth, thank you for staying to speak. So I'm going to use this time to let her speak. So these are some resources that you all can use. She would be able to help further, especially if you are, like, let's say you're not in Chicago, Cook County, or you're here in Coles County, or whatever it is. I'm going to be quiet, and Beth, if you can speak to us.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate being invited and just listening and learning from each of you throughout the conversation tonight. There are a couple different sections of getting registered to vote. The first one we have had, and it goes through tomorrow. We can do voter registration drives on campus. What you need to get registered at a voter registration drive, no matter what phase we're in, is 2 forms of ID and something that shows your local address if you're wanting to get registered to vote here in Charleston or Coles County. So that could be something like your driver's license, your school ID. We've been pulling up people's PAWS account to show a local address. That is an acceptable form. Or if it's not in your PAWS account, if you have like a utility bill or a lease that shows that you're living here in town, that's what they're needing. So they need to verify who you are, who you say you are, and that you're living here locally. If you're wanting to get registered wherever home is, if that address is reflected on your ID, then you just have to bring 2 forms of ID. After tomorrow, we did have a voter registration drive on campus today. I don't know of any that are planned for tomorrow, but starting on the 8th, which is Wednesday, we enter into a different phase of registering to vote. So that is where you can register to vote anytime starting October 8th through November 3rd, but you have to register and vote at the same time. And so the place to do that are going to be at the courthouse or at an early polling location. So that would be the courthouse right in the square here in Charleston. You can do it at the Salvation Army, or we're having early voting at EIU, which means you don't even have to leave campus. So on October 28th, 29th, and 30th, we're doing early voting at EIU. And if you bring those forms of ID, you can get in line, get registered, and vote without ever having to leave campus. So getting registered to vote, it doesn't take a ton of time. Brittany and I were emailing back and forth about different ways, whether she wanted to change her registration from back home or to Coles County, or to request an absentee ballot. I am more than happy to help no matter what you want. If you want to vote in person, great. I'll help make sure that you've got the information to make sure you're registered to do that. If you want to request an absentee ballot, we will absolutely help you figure out the process to do that as well. And I thought I saw somebody in the chat put it, you know, people are trying to take away other people's right to vote because you have power and your voice and your vote matter. And so it's really important to figure out what are those issues that are important to you, whether they're social justice issues, whether it's the environment, whether it's women's rights, whether, you know, whatever it is that you want to see change in. Start researching different candidates' stances on those topics that matter to you. But again, the thing that I keep coming back to is that in the 2016 presidential election, 50% of our country did not vote. So 50% of the people just didn't engage. And I know that each of your votes, no matter who you choose to vote for, your vote matters, and your voice deserves to be a part of this conversation for whatever is about to happen next. So I will email Brittany some information and some flow charts for different places to go to see if you're registered to vote somewhere, as well as my contact information. Like I said, I will do anything that I can to support you getting registered so that you can be a part of this voting process. So I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, if you all have any questions, like now is the time to ask if you're unsure, or if you feel like you want to ask in private. I know Beth is really good with helping with stuff like this. And then even if it's something like we could probably help you. Like I did my own application for a mail-in ballot. I halfway knew what I was doing, and then I halfway didn't know what I was doing. But it's not hard to navigate. So I don't want anybody to feel like, this is so overwhelming. Like there are resources to help you all. As long as you're vocal and you advocate for help, that is the way you will get the help. But
Does
if not,
anybody have any questions for Beth?
I got a quick question.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I know I was gonna vote too. And like I know when I voted, I believe it was this year, I think. I think it was this year. Like I voted. And I know since I live off campus here, I know that I got like my voter's card like through Coles County, but it was from here though because I live here now. So like, could I just use that like the information instead of like having to like bring up my lease contract and stuff? Or...
If you voted in the primaries, is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, I just couldn't.
Then you should still be eligible to vote for the presidential election, and you won't need to register again. So but that's something you would want to check on. And so Asher, what I can do is I'll send Brittany a link that says just to double check that you're still registered to vote. But if you voted in March, you should be good to go. And then you can either go to the courthouse, you can go to EIU either on election day or on the 28th, 29th, and 30th of October. Or, I mean, you could go to Mattoon as well, but it's easier if it's right here in town.
Okay, well, that's all I want to know. Sorry.
I appreciate the question.
Are there any more questions for Beth? She is here to, provide any answers around voting.
Okay? I have a question. Is everyone registered to vote?
Right. Is everybody? Yeah.
That's my question. If you are not registered to vote,
yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. But
Yes,
if you're not
ma'am.
registered to vote, drop something in the chat. Hopefully everybody's registered to vote. I don't know if we have any freshmen here who have not yet registered to vote. Now is the time. So.
Okay. Yes, yes, y'all vote. Yeah.
I hope everyone is registered to vote. I hope.
We say our lives matter. If our lives matter, then we should be at the polls. Okay.
Period.
Black lives matter, but Black lives matter at the polls. We got to
They matter everywhere, all the time. Okay. Okay. It sounds like everyone's registered to vote. Some people have
registered. Thank you so much, Beth, for coming
in.
on.
Thanks, Beth.
You're welcome. Everybody just stay safe. I know that things are really hard. This pandemic is intense, but it is not going to last forever. So keep your head up. Let me know if I can do anything to help. If anybody needs a mask, I've been making them. So just know that I'm here to help support you in any way that I can. And definitely let me know if you have questions about voting.
Thank you so much, Beth. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. See you guys soon.
So, also along with Beth giving us so much information on voting, also if you're not sure about where you stand politically, you can go to a website. It's a link right here. It's called www.isidewith, and it does a great job of telling you kind of where you align politically. And it's a great website to see, what your thoughts and beliefs are, because you could, be voting Democrat and then you really a Republican, or you have Democratic ideals, but you're voting Republican. You kind of need to know what are your thoughts and your beliefs. So when you go to the ballot box, you kind of know who to vote for. All right, this is one of the best times of our meeting is we're on to Ask Ms. Shirley. So the Ask Ms. Shirley question today was, how do I tell my best friend that I slept with her boyfriend?
You don't.
What do you guys think about this issue? I'm willing to take any comments.
Victoria had her hand raised. I saw her.
Come on, Victoria.
It's either a win or lose situation. You tell them and you just risk that friendship, or you don't say nothing at all. You keep it to yourself and let it haunt you. Either way it goes, you can either tell them or you don't tell them. You pick and choose. That's just me. I wouldn't sleep with my best friend's boyfriend. That's just trifling. I'm sorry. I cannot.
Okay, but like sometimes we need contact because people be tripping. Somebody don't say nothing. Sometimes you don't know that that's the boyfriend. She, you done messed with him already. Then she popped up. Now they together. Like, what's up with that? That's crazy.
You can either tell her that you did beforehand because y'all didn't know, or you could just mind your business. But that's just
really wouldn't say nothing.
Oh no. I don't believe in no such thing. I don't believe in no such thing as I didn't know. Like if that's your best friend, you gonna tell them, oh, I'm talking to this and that. I'm liking this girl or I'm liking this boy, and then they gonna be like, oh, let me see. You gonna send that picture, and they gonna look at them, oh, she cute, or oh, he cute. I don't believe in that. I didn't know. See that right there. That's
I don't know.
Boy, why would you mess with my best friend? That's what you gotta say. You gotta come crazy. Like just
That is true.
Did it happen before or did it happen after? She still needs to say something because if they ace boom cool, they need to say something. But as far as her just lying to her friend about, I don't know about that.
That's not lying. That's just not telling anybody. But that is not a lie.
My point is, if you and your best friend got the relationship point to the point where y'all have a tight bond, y'all literally tell everything. If y'all can sit around and tell what y'all did with another person, y'all can definitely tell what y'all did with Terry, Jerry, and whoever else. That's just me.
Let me know, because if I'm the best friend, say it's the roles reversing and it's with girlfriend, look, we need to have a conversation because that's a problem. Like,
when you say something, if this relationship gonna last, girl, you need to tell your friend after he died. Then that's when you tell him.
Wow, that is so true. Yes, man.
He's like, girl, I forgot to tell you where he was alive, girl. We used to mess around. She can't be that man, then he dead. Like, he already dead.
Okay. Chantel, would you like to speak on this issue? Since you said hello. No friend. Yeah.
Granted, I would not do that though, because I don't get myself involved with scandals.
How do you say your name? Is it Janai or is it Janae?
It's Janae.
Okay, Janae, would you like to speak on this issue? Because
I mean, I just feel like Brittany don't deserve no friends, and even if he was dead, I'm still going to want to fight because now I'm mourning my dead boyfriend that you slept with. Now we got to fight twice because he dead and you slept with him. So I don't like that.
I would pay to see that. I would pay to see that fight.
It's disposable, okay? It's disposable.
So I just think their friendship is also disposable because
that is so true.
Would anybody else like to speak on this before we move on?
Bro, that's trifling.
Because I think we had a good time with this, Miss Shirley.
Bro, that's
If anyone, disclaimer, if anyone would like to submit an anonymous Ask Miss Shirley any question, please, you can email BSU. I'll be willing to, tonight I will be dropping the email as well as the YouTube video. And if you would like to submit your own question to Ask Miss Shirley, go right ahead.
Okay, shade in the morning.
All right, announcements. Are there any announcements that need to be made? Well, I do have an announcement. We do have a treasurer position that is open for BSU. We are looking for a BSU treasurer. So just letting you guys know that. Does anyone else have any announcements? I know we have a lot of student leaders in here. No announcements? Okay, well we can, okay. So we should definitely, this announcement to vote, please. That's an announcement. That's a good announcement. Shout out, anybody got any shout outs?
I mean, shout out to y'all for coming. I mean, hey, support, man.
Shout
That's
out
love.
to y'all. BSU can no longer exist without you all. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to my boy Ray Sean. He wasn't able to show up today for BSU, but he is a very loyal person. Today is his G Day, so I'm so happy for him. So shout out to Ray Sean.
That's it.
Any shout outs?
I have some announcements. So FAFSA opened up October 1st, so you guys need to do that as soon as possible. What was the other thing?
Registration opens soon for seniors and juniors. It'll be this month. So remember to register for classes.
Register for classes. FAFSA, yes, thank you guys. Most definitely, we do need to.
I'm so glad I gotta do
I need to do my
FAFSA.
FAFSA.
Also, we were talking about it earlier. If you want to get a flu shot, they have them for free October 14th. I assume it's going to be in the Union. I'm not sure. If that's something you want to take advantage of, please remember that we are in a pandemic and flu season is approaching. So my advice to anyone, if you don't want to take a flu shot, like no shade, you're good. Just make sure that you are aware of yourself and aware of other people. And that's just a common thing right now, common practice. Make sure you all take care of yourselves because it's crazy out here.
It is crazy out here. So I'm done with shout outs. Adjournment. Thank you so much for coming to BSU. I'd like to thank you all. Hope you had a great time. We will see you guys later. We'll be uploading.
Same time, same place. Y'all know where to find us.
Same time, same place. If you need anything, you can reach out to our BSU execs and our grad advisor. So just continue to see you guys later.
Peace.
Hey, gang. Bless you.
Ooh,
I heard that
you
call.
right there? I heard that call.
Yeah. Stay right there, G. Stay right there.
My BSU people, can you stay on here?
Yeah.
A mile left.
Yeah, that was not a COVID cough, y'all. That was a strep throat cough.
Stay healthy. You know this weather is changing up, so y'all know sinuses and stuff kick in. So stay healthy out there.
Yeah.
It's very painful. Very painful.
Okay, is everybody here?
Yeah.
It is me, you, Asher, Brittany, and you.